Hello, Frizz fans. Here we are. We have another casual gameplay that we're going to be showing you here. Go ahead and comment down below who you think is going to win this time, Josh or Cody. Cody, you can see here is on the left. Josh, you got here on the right. They're warming up right now. But I'm going to pause the video real quick, and I'm just going to adjust our little screens to where we're not in the way as much. And additionally, we're going to use this time. We're going to point out some of the field lines. So, Josh, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, and we'll talk about the field.
Hey guys, so hopefully at this point you've watched some of our other videos, some of the introductions, so we're not going to bore you too much with that. Just some things to look out for in this game, kind of watch for, where we're standing, where we're positioning ourselves, and then, keep an eye on the score to see like what's a score, what's not a score, and then keep an eye on the penalties too. It's pretty simple as far as like when penalties occur. Most of the time it's because of an errant throw. Basically if that first skip is not in the skip zone, it's a penalty.
Yeah, and I would say 90% of penalties are because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. The other ways you can get penalties is if you cross your pitch line. Cody's going to go over the lines here in a second. But if you cross your pitch line when you're making your throw, or if you move and if you make a catch from in front of the pitch line,
now
technically that's also
technically you can get a throwing penalty from anywhere outside of your score zone, even
Correct.
if you're still behind the pitch line.
Yeah, that's the other way, is you have to be inside your score zone. But otherwise, those are pretty simple rules to follow to avoid getting penalties. And again, if you get a penalty, you get to move up to the penalty line. So you get an extra 5 feet to make a throw, and you get 3 throws in a row plus 1 to start off on. As you know, the disc basically just skips back and forth, so it's just a back and forth kind of a play. So they're just returning the disc back and forth until there's penalty shots at the end of the quarter. So Cody's going to go over the lines real quick. I know that may be a little hard to see. The sun's got a little bit of glare there, but Cody's going to point out the lines real quick and the dimensions.
Yeah, so here are these inner lines are making up part of your skip zone. And these inner lines we call the penalty lines. They're mainly there to define the skip zone, but also they allow you an extra 5 feet during penalty shots. And we'll kind of briefly mention that as we're doing some penalty shots later in the game. And then at the front of each player's respective score zones is what we call the pitch line. And that's mainly because you have to throw the Frisbee from behind that line. And then you'll see these corners extending out from there. And those are also kind of to further define each player's score zone. And then you have these main lines that define both the skip zone here in the interior and also these penalty boxes on the ends.
Now, the lines that are going out in the respective score zones, those are actually a little shorter than outlined in the rule book. So this is one of our earlier fields when we're kind of getting the dimensions right, but they're still at the correct angles. But as you see, they're going to be a little shorter. Those are probably about 25 feet as opposed to the regulation 35 feet that they should go out. So, the fields that we're going to be, giving out for our Kickstarter program, they're going to be 2 standard fields. They're all going to have the correct dimensions and lines and everything. So,
yeah. And then another thing to mention is once they extend out the 35 feet, it's assumed that it goes straight back. So it's like a trapezoid, but then once it gets to the end of that trapezoid, they go straight back. And you'll kind of see some calls that will point out in the game where it's like, oh, that could have been a point or could have not been a point. Kind of depends on how far back that disc wants to try and come back into the score zone. So that'll be a little, those are sometimes a little bit harder to call because once you get past those corners, it's just kind of you have to eyeball that a little bit. So it's a little bit subjective, but it worked pretty well for the most part. I really enjoy this field. I think it's done really well considering what we used to use.
Yeah. So with that said, let's get into the action.
All right. So it looks like they're getting ready to start the game. I believe they have already flipped the disc to see who gets the disc first. Yeah, but generally, at the beginning of the game, you flip the disc, see who gets the disc first, and then the opposing player gets to decide which side of the field, or whoever wins the disc toss gets to decide if they want the disc first or if they pick the side of the field. And that's a point to start out with.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind when you're playing is definitely have a bunch of discs on hand. I would say at least 6, because you're gonna, like, as they get past you, you know, you don't want to be running back and forth and getting, you know, discs. So
yeah, I don't think we've touched that on many other videos, but we tend to play with at least 6 discs, 3 on each side, just so you don't have to run and get them constantly. Oh, he says that one's out. That one looks like
he saw me lean over there. So
follow the line out, basically.
Yeah. And it's kind of like Ultimate, you know, where you know, you're making your own calls, just know the rules, and you know, you should be in accordance with most calls with your opponent. So
that one was a pretty good throw, but didn't quite make it there. It looks like he tried the upside down throw or the top down throw, whatever you want to call it. Oh, that looks like a point. Yep.
That looked good. That was a nice throw.
That one didn't quite have enough juice. So how would you describe the field on this one? Is the grass kind of thick? Is it slow playing or fast?
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to talk about. So, you know, we love playing on turf. Turf is a much faster game.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that was a nice throw there. But turf is a much faster game. I think you get the best hops on that. You can even throw, you know, lighter throws and still get some nice hops. On, you know, this grass field, I would say is pretty low cut. So we were still having some, you know, pretty solid
that's
bounces.
A penalty right there, I believe.
Yep, absolutely. So that one, the first skip landed in the opponent's penalty zone, so it wasn't in the skip zone. It's a penalty.
Oh, yeah. And he missed one and took a nosedive in the dirt. He is not starting out well.
Yeah, so keep that in mind when you're picking out a field. You know, if the grass hasn't been cut in a while, or it's like a heavier, like taller grass, like soccer field or something, just know you're going to be worn out, because you're going to have to make your throws a lot harder to get that bounce on that higher grass, and it's just going to make it a little harder.
So you can see here we already went to go fetch some discs, and if you're playing with a stopwatch nearby, you can play with stoppages. This would be one of those times where you would stop the time while you go and collect discs. Now, if you're not playing with stoppages, we usually just add 2 minutes to regulation time. Now, this isn't exactly the regulation. We're kind of casual play here, but
yeah, I think you'll notice
that, he dropped the disc.
Error. What an error. So you'll notice, like, I think if you're playing like league play, or, you know, it's just kind of on the weekend.
Oh, there's another error.
On the weekend, you're going to have people out there that they can kind of, you know, keep up with the times and whatnot, and stoppages and the score.
Yeah, I think if you can get like a small league together, which is what we would ideally want for the sport, is that people kind of get some leagues together. Maybe you get, you know, 4, 6, 8 guys out there at a time. You can have one guy recording time and stuff and points. Because when we're on the field, and you might can hear it, well, you probably can't hear it. I'll probably X out that noise, but we'll every basically point we yell out the score just to kind of keep it fresh. But I will say it can be a little difficult sometimes to remember the score and the penalties. That's a penalty. That was a bad penalty.
Yeah.
But yeah, we basically every single point will yell out the score and the penalty count just to kind of keep it fresh. Oh! That's a bobble catch right there. Ooh, barely got that one.
Barely got throw off before you cross the pitch line too.
Yeah, if you watch some of these shots, I believe we have some more of the B-roll footage, like what you see in the intro video, or like the little intro snippets. You can see where their feet are really close to the line, or maybe while they're making the throw, they're like getting ready to go over the line.
And it's fine. You got to release the frisbee before you cross that pitch line. So
yeah.
One other thing to note on penalty shots: so you can't get penalties on penalty shots
as an offensive player.
As an offensive player.
Oh, that was a good shot. He didn't even try for that. Yeah, but you could theoretically get a defensive penalty on every single throw, and then have to serve penalty shots. Oh man.
Technically, yeah, you could.
Immediately, like one after the other. That would be bad.
Yeah, you can't get yourself out of the hole. Keep digging before you get out of the hole.
I will say it's not looking good for Cody here. He's 3 points down already in the first quarter. He's got three
Three.
penalties. So you'll see our first round of penalty shots. This would also be a time where you would stop the clock because the thrower is really going to take his time with these shots. And it's whereas in regular game where you're throwing as fast as you can, you don't have to let the other player set up and everything. And penalty shots, you let them set up.
Yeah, penalty shot. The time does stop, so the thrower can take his time.
Nice catch.
There's no time against him. You get 3 shots in a row, plus 1 to start the time back on. So
that was the first throw. He made the catch over there on the left side.
So take a look. I'm stepping all the way up to the penalty line.
Another catch there. Here's a third throw. Oh, now that would have been a penalty in regular gameplay. Not a penalty here, but no chance at a point because it's not a legal throw. So what we would call that, kind of like a nickname, is a triad defense. He blocked all 3 of the penalty shots. And if he blocks this, it's called a diamond defense. There we go.
Yeah, what a waste.
Usually penalty shots are a pretty good advantage.
Good catch. That was a good catch there.
It looks like
as
a
you
little
can
bit
see,
of a tricky hop.
I'm wearing Cody down this quarter. But we hadn't played in a while.
It looks like he probably caught that one going off screen.
Yeah, I think so. But as you can see, this game's a little lax. We're a little, getting back into the groove of it because it's been a little while.
So they're calling that one a roll, and that's basically the disc maintained contact while passing over the pitch line.
So that's a mutual call again. Any rolls or skids, which we've mentioned in previous videos. So if it rolls across the pitch line, that's not a skip. If it skids across the pitch line, like basically slides on the ground, that's not a score either. So it's got a skip.
It looked like a nice one-handed snag there from you. I will say, if you're a new player and if you have the opportunity to play on a turf field, that would probably be the best way to play, just because you're still developing that skill of skipping the disc.
Yeah, and I mean, you can skip the disc many different ways. You can use the old chicken wing, the forehand, backhand, the top down throw is what we call it. Basically, flipping the frisbee upside down and throw it like you would a backhand thumber. And
then sidearm right there.
Yeah, and it just allows so many different ways to skip the disc basically and get creative with it. There's no one way to do it. So.
Oh yeah, because I think we'll put out some strategy videos later, but essentially you're basically, it's kind of like tennis in that you're trying to make them run around back and forth, tire them out. But there's different ways you can do it and try and be a little less predictable and try and change it up on them a little bit. Another bobble catch.
I think it hit the ground first. It looked like it hit the ground first.
Hey, we can do a replay here.
Let's look at this again.
All right, we're backing up just a little bit. Here's his throw.
Upside down throw. Oh, I don't know.
Gosh, I'm going to go back again because I'm going to point out something that I don't think you noticed. Oh, wait, look at his foot.
Oh, my gosh.
No. That should have been called a penalty, I think. But, I mean, I think I see foot on the other side of his pitch line.
Oh, instant replay. Got him. It's about a month too late, but
see, with I think in tournament play, ideally we would have like some volunteer refs, either other people playing in the tournament, or maybe you would have people not playing in the tournament who are going to ref all the games. But that's really difficult for me to see, and maybe it's probably difficult for him to notice.
True,
but
yeah,
I
would say that
a ref would probably notice that.
Yeah, league play, in league play, you should have someone else there, kind of monitoring the game, trying to make those calls as well, so that it's fair. Yeah. And obviously in tournament play, there will be, refs there, monitoring and keeping up with the score, the time stoppages, and monitoring for penalties like that. So.
That would be ideal, but obviously, if you only have two people, y'all both try and agree to the calls and everything. If you submit your scores to for your ratings, that's fine too. So yeah, you well. Oh, there's
Balanced
right
out
there.
because I feel like that throw hit the ground. So
That's not a balance out. It wouldn't have been a point because it would have been a penalty.
yeah.
But that was the call that day. We called it no point, no penalty.
Oh.
Another dive, man. You can tell he is tired of being on the ground.
Yeah, I put you on the ground a lot during this quarter. I feel like my throws were pretty spot on that quarter. So
Yeah, I have the advantage because I edited this, so I've already seen the whole game in footage.
you're really taking your time there. It looks like we're probably arguing about him.
We're probably debating the score a little bit, our memory of the score.
According to the Frizz rules, there is a shot clock, so you got 10 seconds. So that doesn't include like if you're going to the time should stop when you're going to round up frisbees, but as soon as you get back in your score zone, your respective score zone, the shot with the frisbee in hand, the shot clock starts, and you got 10 seconds to make that throw. So
yeah, and the purpose of that's mainly to prevent delay of game if you're in the lead. Yeah. Now, so you have to take in some things into consideration. That looks like the end of the quarter, but you have to take in some things in consideration. Like Cody's definitely not in the lead, so there's not a big reason for him to delay the game. And it looked like at that point they were mainly just debating the score and the penalty count.
And they're both probably tired.
Yeah, I think.
Well, that's it. That's the first quarter. So join us for the second quarter of action coming up next.
Yeah.
All right. One bet.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So I'm going to stop this